Well, we've been here since lunchtime. It's been raining ever since, and it's getting heavier tonight. They've only just recovered from Storm Kira and the severe flooding they had here last weekend, and now they're wondering what tonight will bring. There's been no shortage of soldiers coming in, flood wardens, trying to shore up defences and offer advice to residents. Some residents have moved out, others are just hoping that it won't be as bad as last weekend. But the problem here, as in so many other parts of the UK, is that the rivers are already swollen. You can see the Calder behind me, very fast flowing. The ground is saturated, the sponge, if you like, is already full of water, and there's more water coming down from the hills into this valley, hence the multiple flood warnings. And there is anger here too. The north of England has certainly had its fair share of severe flood events in recent years. And there was a very striking front page comment in the Yorkshire Post today which read, "We're drowning, Prime Minister, it's time to act." And there will be much more of that, no doubt, if for a second weekend in a row the flood defences in these areas just don't hold out. Just when they might have hoped for a weekend off, in come more storm warnings. And the army too. Mytholmroyd in the Calder Valley, where around 200 homes were flooded last weekend, readies itself once again.
We're all prepared upstairs now. We've got our own little set-up upstairs, got a little kitchen up here, and we're all just ready to just batten down the hatches and carry on, really.
Are you feeling about another weekend of potential flooding?
There's not much more we can lose, really, so it'd just be another clean-up. The downstairs is all clear now, so...
How much damage last weekend?
Oh, a lot of damage. Yeah, we lost pretty much everything.
How bad was it?
It was to about this level there on the inside. It came over the floodgate eventually. The floodgate worked fine, but then it came over.
Across the road a skip lies laden with the debris of Storm Kira, while they hastily build the new defences for Storm Dennis. In some areas they're anticipating as much as a month's rainfall in one night. From nearby Hebden Bridge to Leatherhead in Surrey, the industry of flood mitigation measures comes after repeated warnings.
We are concerned that Storm Dennis is going to be at least as severe as Storm Kira. We're asking, and as a consequence, we're deploying all of our mobile pumps, all of our temporary defences across the country.
Throughout the day, driving conditions have been worsening across many parts of the UK. Gales have already affected many coastal areas, with gusts of up to 80 miles an hour expected in some areas. Several hundred flights have been cancelled, so too dozens of train journeys from London to the northeast of England. While back in Mytholmroyd, they look on as they try to shore up the more permanent flood defences still in the process of being built following the 2015 floods.
I think a lot of people are a bit, a bit angry last week because obviously I think it's the time that it's taking to complete the works that they're doing.
The rain tonight in many areas is expected to be heavy and persistent. There may be power cuts too, as the Environment Agency urges people to monitor local flood warnings.
Well, I'm joined now from Mytholmroyd by Scott Patient. He's a member of the Calderdale Flood Recovery and Resilience Programme Board and a Labour councillor. The Prime Minister said a few months ago, and thanks very much for bearing with us in this weather, the Prime Minister said that the Yorkshire floods before the Christmas were not a national emergency. Is this a national emergency now, in your view?
I think it's clear that it is. These incidents keep happening. This is our fourth in 8 years. I think kind of the buck has stopped, really. You know, when will we get that help that we need? People are quite rightly angry and frustrated, and we really need to see some decisive action right now.
Well, what action do you want from central government? Because the troops have been sent out. What more do you want the government to do? The troops are very welcome, and they're doing a great job here, you know, helping us. But
put the flood defences together and help us with our road closures and the emergency services. But what we need is real sustainable funding. It was difficult for us to hear in the day after Storm Ciara battered us here that HS2 was being funded. That's the kind of investment that we need to tackle what's going on with climate change in our uplands here. Our geography is very special here. We're a steep-sided hillsides and valleys. We actually need the capital projects that you can see around you in terms of the flood alleviation works are great, but actually what we need is real sustainable development and real financing so that these things stop happening to our communities.
Well, DEFRA says that it is investing record amounts, and if you look at the figures, £2.6 billion invested up to 2021, 1,500 projects funded, they say, to protect 300,000 homes. So isn't the government putting a fair bit of money in?
I don't think we're really feeling that investment. At the moment, it feels a lot like the local authorities are shouldering that burden. And quite frankly, we're not in the position anymore after years of austerity to front that kind of money. What we need is investment into natural flood management, into different kinds of projects apart from civil engineering. We need money to tackle the root cause of this problem, to think about the landowners and their responsibility, to think about the sphagnum moss and how that's being utilised in terms of grouse hunting. There's actually a whole plethora of problems that are leading communities like ours up and down Calderdale to being vulnerable to extreme weather and global warming.
I mean, you mentioned landowners there. I guess there's things that people can do on the ground locally, like, for example, planting more trees in the uplands to slow the flow of water.
Yeah.
It's not just down to central government, is it?
No, and we do have some excellent community groups here. Slow the Flow are based in Calderdale, and they do all that kind of work we've just been talking about, building leaky dams, tree planting, really slowing that catchment of water coming down here. But there's got to be a responsibility for these landowners beyond the amazing community groups that we do have to stop these events happening. And I think that needs legislation, and that needs real change and real investment from government, and that's what we're asking for. We're asking for that Tier 1 status, like the City of London has in its response to terrorism, for us to have that same response for climate change, actually, and how it's affecting us here.
That Tier 1 status was unlock emergency government funding. Do you get any sense that your calls are being heeded?
I mean, we met with the Secretary of State for Environment on Wednesday, but unfortunately she lost her job the day after. So, you know, we're going to need to keep those conversations going. And we have made pleas. The front cover of the Yorkshire Post has a quite stark plea there. You know, we are drowning here, and our communities can't take this anymore. We're kind of rich in heritage. Our economies are strong here, but they are on a knife edge at the moment, and people are quite rightly frustrated and wondering what comes next. The council can only do so much with its partners, and we have led a lot here, but we really, really do need that help. We're desperate for it.
Scott Patient, I'll let you get in the dry. Thanks very much for braving the wind and rain for us tonight. Well, we did ask for a government minister to speak to us about flood defences and preparedness, but unfortunately, no one was available.